Good afternoon and welcome to my channel. Now, we here at Hammocks to Coasters aren't technically a homeschool channel. We aren't even technically just strictly home vloggers or home life or lifestyle, or certainly not homesteaders or any of that. Our content is primarily travel and adventure based, out and about, going to theme parks, national parks, museums, hotels, camping, hiking. We do a wide variety of family-friendly activities. With that said, I do homeschool my 6-year-old son. He's a first grader. We're working on first grade. And part of what I do for my channel members is I do a home vlog as kind of a behind the scenes thing to thank them for supporting our channel. But I thought that it might be fun to maybe check in and do, maybe not monthly, but maybe every couple of months or a quarterly report or whatever, just to give my experiences of how I do homeschooling and give a little bit of a progress report for people who don't really want to go to the extent of all the details to be, follow so detailed that they want to become channel members, but maybe they just want a little update once in a while. Or perhaps you do homeschooling and you like watching what other people do, as I do. I've been watching a ton of curriculum videos lately, and that kind of got me thinking that maybe I should just put out one of my own, because maybe there's other moms out there like myself that you maybe do a very wide, eclectic mix of things. So anyway, pull up a cup of coffee if you want, sit back and join me. To start with, let me give you a little bit of a background of where we live. We live here in Big Bend National Park in Texas. And actually, all of my homeschooling journey has pretty much been in a remote national park. Started kindergarten with him in Everglades in Florida. Then we moved to Texas last May. And Big Bend is even more remote than what Everglades was. So let me talk about that for a bit. Here, living in a national park, there's not a lot of choices. There is a school here in our neighborhood, but it is very consolidated, grades K through 12 thrown together, and there's really only a small handful of kids at that. So even if I didn't choose homeschooling, it's not like I would have a ton of other choices anyway, but I like homeschooling. So I certainly, it is something I actually decided at birth that it was an avenue I wanted to pursue with my son. I apologize if this lighting isn't very good. I'll switch back over to show you his notebook in a minute, but this was more comfortable to try to sit and hold the phone to talk. So during homeschooling kindergarten, I don't know, I kind of very much did an unschooling approach through kindergarten. I focused more on very loosey-goosey play, a lot of games, a lot of other interaction. And then towards the end of it, I did start kind of slowly working in some curriculum, mostly just workbooks I got at Dollar Tree and all of that. And it worked for us. So starting first grade, I wanted to try to start looking at, okay, now do I follow a philosophy? Do I not? And this whole first quarter has been very much understanding myself as much as understanding my son. I know there's a lot of philosophies out there, whether you're a faith-based Christian homeschooler, whether you're not, whether you're a secular homeschooler, or whether you completely do an online curriculum versus a very unschooling approach versus using your own book curriculum to a mix of stuff. Maybe you participate in a co-op. Maybe you homeschool with some other families that you're friends with, but not necessarily a co-op. And maybe you just do a mix of all of it. I think at the end of this first quarter, what I have done after some deep dive look into my personality is I follow a very secular approach to homeschooling with a mix of following some curriculum with blending in a little bit of unschooling with the amount of travel and activities that we do, so that we do a lot of educational stuff outside of the home and outside of our workbook time. But I don't really do anything online. I mean, well, he just broke his Kindle, but before a couple of days ago when his Kindle broke, he would supplement a little bit with Kindle, but that was more strictly during some downtime. So the primary part of our work is curriculum that I'm working on with some other like extracurricular topics, as well as doing stuff out and about while we are hiking, camping, doing junior ranger programs, all of that. As I mentioned, I've been watching a lot of videos myself lately, and that's kind of what sparked me to want to maybe fit in a few extra videos that were more out to the public eye. I see a lot of curriculum, and some of it looks like it could be amazing. Some of it, the more I research it, I'm thinking from my age range, and I have a very motivated student. My son is extremely a hard worker, motivated to learn, really easy to teach. So that plays into it for me. And I want to put in the little disclaimer here. Everybody's family is different. Everybody's kids are different. All kids have different learning styles, learn at different paces. You have to do what works for you. With that said, a majority of the curriculum I see out there for his age right now, a lot of it for me was way overpriced for what you really needed, at least for us. So I'm going to show you a little bit of what I am doing. And like I said, my son is like his father and myself. We're both motivated learners. Therefore, Teddy has a double dose. He is he even some days asks for extra work. So I'm going to show you what works for us with an only child who is extremely motivated to learn, especially when I'm sitting at the table with him. And I do have time. I don't work outside the home, so we have a very comfortable environment for me to always be right there to instruct him, answer questions, help him. So we have that type of luxury blessing of an environment as well. Also, I want to fit in, my husband is not the primary person homeschooling, but we do utilize a lot of time where on my husband's days off or evenings, there are certain projects or certain little extra tidbits that my husband also takes a lot of time to invest to hang out with Teddy and do different projects. So really is a whole like family effort here. We do the majority of our book work here at our dining room table together. We recently, during this first quarter, let me backtrack a bit. I also am from the state of Maine originally, and I still have parents that live in the state of Maine who are elderly, and there are times when I do go home to be with them to help out or just visit and spend time with them and be of whatever assistance I can be. So we actually did start our first grade year in Maine, and then part of September, we were traveling back here to Texas. So a good part of September, our homeschooling was more travel, junior ranger programs at national parks, hiking, nature-based and stuff like that than it was book work. Once we were back here in Texas, we did start kind of diving back into the books. I did just recently get that bookshelf, which we're starting to load up with books. And we have books in other rooms of the house too. This is primarily educational based books. Games that we utilize in our homeschooling as well. Puzzles, things like Light Bright. He just got finger paints for the first time this week. Our science kits, all our colored pencils, all of that. So this is the primary spot where we do it. I do, and don't mind the Alexa sitting there. We had that out earlier when we were playing Scrabble. I don't really usually have that out here. Usually it's actually in my son's bedroom, but we were looking up words to use playing Scrabble. So I have a little basket that I work out of daily, and then I have his binder that I collect notes. Now, as I mentioned, I'm in Texas. Texas has a very laid back homeschool law. I'm not required to do evaluations. I'm not required to keep records, but I do so because, well, we're just memory keepers anyway as a family. But I want documents just to reflect on, but also down the road if things ever do change, because how our thought process is we go year by year and we reevaluate constantly as a married couple and with our son, so as a family, of what his desire is. So, but in case it ever changes, I do want documentation if I ever did want to go through evaluations or anything that I would do to get him, especially towards high school or whatever. So I'll show you a little bit of what's been working for us this year. So in August, I started out really good, and I'm sorry for the shadow. I should mention, I'm not one of those, like I said, I'm not primarily, let me see if I change the lighting here, a homeschool channel. So I don't really have a setup where I can sit all fancy and talk to you from my office or whatever. I don't wear makeup. I don't look fancy. So what you see is what you get around here. We're not, a fancy family. Anyway, so I apologize if it's not high-tech filming. So I had started in August doing daily notes of what we were doing, and I did pretty good into September, and then for some reason, since I've been back in Texas here in October, really did not do good on the daily record keeping as much. So I think in November, I do want to try to get a little bit better back at that. Then we do 2 types of reading. We do some readers level 1, and now he's actually into some level 2s as well, that he reads to me. We are working on reading aloud. I'll show you what a couple of those look like. Here is an example. He has a couple of his favorite level 1s, and then a level 2 we've been working on for the Halloween season. Now these we do try to primarily get him to read to us. He still is having some problems. He doesn't really have a speech problem. Mostly he has a speed excitement problem. If we can get him to slow down and not be overexcited or rushing, he actually speaks pretty well and reads aloud pretty well. Just sometimes, my son is a very excited person, and sometimes he gets going a little fast, but that's an example of what we're working on to get him to read aloud. And he actually reads quite well for a first grader. He was reading quite well before we started first grade in August. Then on the back side, we've been reading some books that we read together, as I call them, where mostly I'm reading out loud to him. And I'll show you actually what we're working on now. In August, while we were still in Maine, my son discovered the Good Dog books, and he owns quite a few of those. He was really enjoying those. Back in Florida, before we moved here in May, he was working his way through Magic Treehouse series with me. And then we kind of let it go when we took our trip to Maine this summer. And now that we're back, we're getting back into Magic Treehouse, picking up where we left off. Also, while we were traveling back from Maine, back here to Texas, in one of those free libraries, Teddy discovered How to Train Your Dragon. So we have been slowly working our way through that together as well. He loves to read to me, and he loves for his father and I to read to him. As well as we do encourage audiobooks as well. so that he can listen to the stories and just hear like how narration should sound. It helps him to hear how. All right, starting to lose storage on my phone here. I have not backed up in forever. I get guilty of that, but I digress. So even though he reads well, he wasn't getting an interest in wanting to do copy work, tracing his letters, uppercase or lowercase, or a lot of that. So I felt it was better this year to just start out with grade K language arts. And again, I researched some curriculum, but then I found this one at a bookstore, Books A Million. And it was only, forgive me, I can't remember if it was around $10 or around $20, somewhere in that range. And I have actually had good success with him using it. We actually just finished through chapter 4. So he's done his uppercase, his lowercase, parts of speech, capitalization. He's actually started picking up pace in it now. And what I have found works is a lot of times I am having him write and it's getting better and better. And then sometimes if it's really too much for him, like sentences, I will help him out on the writing, but he has improved tremendously on it. So to supplement that, he has an interest in Minecraft. So I just recently got this that is reading success for Minecrafters grades 1 and 2. And I apologize because I think I have this just all in a clump. I do, but you can see here the same thing. It started out with some copy work, and then now it's actually gotten into some reading comprehension. So he's reading the stories, and I see if I can pull out a page to show you. Here's a better example of what we were recently working on in the Minecraft book. So he reads the story, and then he was circling the words that he had to then answer into the answer section. So I've been using that to supplement his Spectrum language arts book, which recently has led to him wanting to start to write his own story. Teddy goes to the beach, but it is stormy. So, and then he drew a picture with it. So he wants to start working on writing his own storybook. Recently, I've tried incorporating a spelling workbook as well. And we started in on one. You can see some of his work here. And he was enjoying the workbook part of it. And then I tried like doing verbal quizzing, and he's doing okay, but he has expressed it's not really something he's enjoying. So we are just going to do more just fitting spelling into other activities we're doing in language arts, as well as playing Scrabble Junior. He does have, let me show you here, Scrabble Junior, and we do the beginning level as well as today he wanted to try the advanced level and spelling words on his own. So we implement that a lot. We had worked on the logic workbook for gritty kids that was for the age level just below the 6 to 10. And he kind of enjoyed it. So I decided to get him the logic workbook for gritty kids, ages 6 through 10. And he started a little bit of work. Actually, I have another packet in my basket as well that he's working on that is the focus activities. We don't do this daily or even weekly, to be honest with you. It's just kind of more of an added in thing. Math. I'm also using Spectrum for math. He really is strong in math. So we are going through the grade 1 level of Spectrum math. Extremely easy. He did just finish unit 1 and took his test today, actually. Aced it. He only got 1 wrong out of like 4 pages full of problems. So really proud of him on that. And same thing, I looked at a lot of other curriculum, and I mean, some of them come with all the tools and stuff, but to be honest, I found like an abacus on Amazon real cheap, and we use stones and pebbles and fingers and dice and anything else I have around the house. So I don't know, when I get ready to do his second grade, I may look into a different curriculum. But right now, I mean, it comes so easy to him that it just is easy peasy. And again, I did just kind of put it all in one folder here because he did just finish the unit 1 today. So I put it all in just one sheet, but that's kind of a look at what it looked like. I started writing for him in the beginning, but he is writing on his own now. I'll show you that. Here's an example. That's the one he got wrong for some reason. 5 minus 5, and he knew it too. He knew it, but he just, same thing, got speedy. But as you can see, he starts out strong writing his numbers, and then he gets tired. So after we went through a bit of it, I did take over, and like I quizzed him, and he gave me the answer, and I would write in the answer for him. But that's kind of an idea of how far along he is. To supplement the Spectrum math book, I also got this little book to work on some additional stuff like time, money, fractions. He's really been enjoying this. We did the money unit first, and he really had fun. You know, I got real money and started working on all of that with him, the value of money. And now we've been recently switching over to time. As you can see, there's his worksheet he actually did yesterday that I tucked in there of working on clock and stuff. So that's been a nice little addition. Speaking of addition, I said that we don't do a lot of online stuff, but he did actually, we got the app for the logic workbook for gritty kids on his dad's iPad, Mark's iPad, my husband. And he did that a little bit, but honestly, my kid's kind of old school. He really likes sitting at the table with a pencil, so I encourage a lot of that right now. Besides math and science, my kid's other favorite subject is geography. Now, we do travel, and we have traveled a lot all of his life. Teddy has had the luxury of probably seeing at least 3/4 of the US states just in his 6 years and knows them pretty well by name. So geography, he has had a huge interest in that. So, but I wanted to make sure I followed something a little more structured. So I did pick up this workbook, my first grade geography workbook. Again, I got it on Amazon, not super expensive. And he has enjoyed that. Started out with, you know, working on cardinal directions. I was trying to see if I had a, oh, see, no, it's all in together. So funny thing is Texas was actually one of the last assignments we just did. So we've worked through a lot of it, and now we've gotten into where it has started to break off from the US and go into Canada. Let's see if I can pull it up to show you here. So yeah, going into city size, and then it starts going into Canada and then Mexico and other foreign countries. So we decided, he and I, we're going to shelf this for a little while until probably January or February or even into spring. And we are going to take time to do some independent studies on each of the US states. So that's going to be our goal coming up. I, in the later part of kindergarten, started this health book with him, Healthy Habits for Healthy Kids. Teddy has a real fascination with food, cooking. We do use cooking a lot in our homeschooling. So I finished up the grade K book here as we started first grade, and I was so excited I got the first grade book. I didn't do my research good enough, and to be honest, the grade 1 workbook was almost identical to the grade K. So we actually kindly left that in a free library somewhere traveling back from Maine. But I do recommend it for young kids. It really had a lot of fun activities. Now fitness, that's not something Teddy needs help in. He does plenty of fitness without prompt. He dances, he runs, he goes outside and plays, he's learning to ride his bike, we go hiking, we go swimming. And nutrition, actually, you know, I've always raised him around here. We don't really have a lot of sugar in the house and everything. So, but he's had fun anyway. And like I said, he does like cooking. I wonder if I have any, oh, I do. So we even did some fun collages on like food groups, and we did do some what I called his labs just to make it fun. And I do have more pictures I need to print out as well of him cooking to add to his binder here. So what we've moved on to recently, now we've moved on to working on more of the human body parts, recognition and all that. And I'm using this book, and I'm sorry, I don't have the cover. Hold on. That's what I ripped out to put in his binder. it is this one. And I did, again, get this right on Amazon. So again, we've kind of slowed down on this unit to pick up pace on language arts, reading, math. So we kind of, and geography and stuff. So this is kind of a filler when we need a real easy activity to do to just kind of fill our time, just to keep touching base with it. Again, though, it's coming really easy to him, so sometimes he's kind of bored with it. So I may need to kind of rethink how I continue to do a little bit of biology lessons with him. And being outdoors people that we are, as well as living and working in our national parks, something that is huge to us is nature, conservation, leave no trace principles, all of that. So we do fit in, as I mentioned previously, a lot of junior ranger programs. When I was still in Maine, my mom printed out this neat little packet that I did with him on leave no trace principles that was put out by REI. So I have that in his folder. I do have some junior ranger stuff too, but the books wouldn't really fit in the binder. But again, I took a lot of photos during our time doing junior ranger programs and stuff, so I think I'm gonna print out a bunch of photos to also incorporate. And we are actually going on a little trip next week, so I'm hoping to add in some other nature-based studies. And that's a lot of times when I do that, is if we have vacations or we're traveling or off as a family, we do find little tidbits like this to just supplement his other curriculum. The arts. My kid is not an artist. We did actually use finger paints yesterday. They're over there drying, so I can't really show you. But overall, art is not his thing unless it's stickers, I'll be honest. And we did actually, though, he did just finally open this Learn to Draw book like last week. So I thought, oh good, I'll start a little chapter here in his binder to show a little bit of it. But otherwise, this is what he likes. Numbers with stickers. And as far as music, we do some stuff like watching YouTube videos together, singing, dancing, Danny Go, all of that. But as far as a lot of other stuff, music, arts, crafts, it's just right now not his thing. One thing I don't really have a section for in his binder yet is like history. And we actually are big into history in this family. My husband, even though now he works utilities, water and wastewater management, my husband actually, one of his college degrees is in history. He has a dual degrees. He has one degree in psychology and one degree in history. So history is huge in our house, but a lot of times it's more national park visits, visiting battlefields, other historic sites, reading signs. And then a lot of times it's reading books plus the geography that we're fitting in. So I don't really have a lot of paperwork to document this section yet, but I did want to know it is a topic that is covered in our house. Primarily right now, US history and stuff, not really beyond that. And then for other extra, right now for science stuff, same thing. I don't have a lot of like so-called papers to put in his binder. I was going through that last piece and my low battery came up. My apologies. I wasn't really sure. This is my first time doing one of these to this extent, and we're doing way more. I think I tried to do one in his kindergarten times, but he's doing way more now than he did in kindergarten. So with that said, I'm gonna start wrapping up. I did go put my phone on the charger real quick just to finish this before I have to start cooking supper. So that's our homeschooling life right now for grade one, first quarter in a nutshell. I do think I'll switch to more of a year round instead of like following a traditional school calendar, because we do take travel breaks. So to make sure I'm implementing everything that I need to implement, I think keeping in mind that even though we do a lot of stuff during these breaks, it's not the curriculum stuff. So I will keep the pace to go through the curriculum. But that is us. We don't really follow the Waldorf method or the Charlotte Mason method. I, like everything else I do in life, I don't really pick this philosophy that I'm going to practice right to a T and preach to you and hold on, he's yelling. Sorry about that. He had a little bit of a TV glitch in his room. So, yeah, so I don't follow any like strict philosophy, and I'm not gonna really, at least not yet. You know, I'm not sponsored by anybody, so I'm telling you what works for us, but I'm not, you know, sponsored to use certain curriculum or activities or any of that. So just giving you maybe another perspective that, especially in the early ages, relax and have fun with it. The more you engage with your child and the more you just act interested and active, the more, in most cases, there are certainly other cases, you know, if your child has learning disabilities or other hurdles, or you have to work from home at the, you know, online at the same time you're trying to homeschool or whatever. There's obviously a lot of other circumstances, but if possible, in these early years, just have fun with it and don't stress. I can't urge enough. Don't stress. Don't overthink it. Don't think you have to have this grand design and that you can't change it during your school year or change it even a week down the road. If something's not working, as Teddy says, let's can it. Let's can it. It doesn't have to be this whole game plan that you document like you're doing a personalized plan or something. It doesn't need to be expensive curriculum. You don't need to buy all your stuff at the beginning of the year. You can just acquire little bits and pieces. There's even free online resources that you can print. There's so much out there. You can take bits and pieces from different philosophies if it fits you and your family or you and your child. It just doesn't have to be stressful. So that's, I guess, one of the reasons why I decided maybe I'll throw one out in the mix too, to show you that not everybody puts on, and I'm not saying, please don't take this the wrong way. If you are one that looks all pretty with makeup and good clothes, that's awesome. I have a lot of friends that are that way. I'm not judging. I'm really not judging. Please don't take it as judging. I just maybe wanted to reach out to some of the other homemakers or kind of tomboyish type moms that do just kind of sit around in your t-shirt and shorts or whatever with your hair, you know, home hair, don't care, don't wear makeup. Maybe there's I'm an older mom. I am 51. You know, I had Teddy quite late in life. His dad and I couldn't get pregnant for the longest time. So that's another thing. You know, I look at this as a blessing to be able to homeschool him. So I just wanted to reach out to maybe there was other moms like me who maybe get intimidated by some of the other videos. And I just wanted you to not get intimidated, to know it is possible to succeed at this and succeed very well without stressing, overthinking, any of that. Now, before I go, I am going to touch on the socialization piece because, you know, we all get it. We all get the negative comments. Oh, do we get the negative comments online from friends, supposed friends? They're not really your friend if they're being negative. Family, again, Ohana, family's not always blood. I just wanted to say, especially in the younger years, I personally don't feel it's a huge thing. I mean, just to be honest, I probably don't talk to hardly anybody I graduated high school with, let alone people I was in kindergarten, first grade, second grade with. I don't even know if most of them even are still alive. There are other ways to incorporate socialization. Now here, I don't really have an option of a co-op nearby or other families nearby. Luckily, we do travel a lot, and Teddy is very extroverted. He makes friends wherever he goes, whether it's a children's museum, a theme park, a local park, a playground. Teddy also socializes without boundaries. He doesn't care gender, he doesn't care age, he doesn't care culture, he doesn't care race. Teddy has no boundaries, no filter. Teddy loves to talk to humans, as I do, just out in the real world. So even if it's grocery shopping or whatever, checking into a hotel, I have him check in with me. Teddy gets a lot of socialization opportunities that maybe a public school kid wouldn't get. And again, I'm not judging, I'm not knocking public school, I'm not knocking private school. Please don't take it that way. I support whatever works for you personally, your child, and your family. With that said, it has come into discussion again that even though right now, currently, this life is working for us in Texas, it probably is not forever home. Big Bend will not be forever home because of the socialization piece. Because you have to travel so many hours out into the real world to socialize. Like my nearest Walmart is 2 hours away. So with that said, in a year or so, we probably will make some changes that will allow for some other socialization opportunities, extracurricular stuff, you name it. With that said though, again, going to the no stress. If this is your situation and you live remotely and you don't have co-ops or you don't have any of that, when they're really young, please don't stress. It will happen. And with that said, I'm gonna close out now. Like I mentioned, homeschooling stuff is not my usual content. If you wanna see some of our other content, I invite you to subscribe, follow the Hammocks to Coasters page on Facebook. If you wanna share your adventures or your homeschooling journey, I have a Facebook group called Teddy's Tribe. You can look that up and you're welcome to share there. I do try to post once in a while on Instagram. And if you actually want more of my home vlog type content, my channel membership, the lowest one that gets the exclusive content is about the price of one soda. And that's, a month. So, check that out. And with that, peace and love, gang. And I will check in again next quarter. So I don't know, maybe in the beginning of January, maybe in the beginning of February, I'll do another one just like this. Have a great day.